Being strong is not the same as being alone. Most men confuse the two. They think strength means silence. They think endurance means isolation. They think if they can carry everything by themselves, then they must be doing something right. But that's not strength. That's survival. A strong man is not the one who feels nothing. A strong man is the one who feels the weight and still chooses to stand. Loneliness, on the other hand, is not a choice. It's what happens when a man realizes there's no one he can call, no one he can be honest with, no place where he can set the armor down without being judged. And here's the dangerous part. Loneliness slowly disguises itself as strength. You stop talking. You stop asking. You stop expecting. Not because you don't need connection, but because you've learned that needing it often leads to disappointment. So you tell yourself you're fine. You tell yourself this is just how men live. You tell yourself that carrying everything alone makes you tougher. But inside, something starts to rot. You become functional, but empty. Reliable, but disconnected. Present, but unseen. You show up. You do what's required. You keep going. But you're not really living. You're enduring. That's not strength. That's erosion. Real strength doesn't mean you never break. It means you don't pretend the cracks aren't there. It means you stop lying to yourself about how heavy things have become. A strong man can sit in silence, but he's not trapped in it. A strong man can carry pain, but he doesn't confuse pain with purpose. Loneliness isolates. Strength connects. And no, connection doesn't mean weakness. It doesn't mean oversharing. It doesn't mean exposing yourself to people who haven't earned your trust. It means having at least one place in the world where you don't have to perform. One friend, one brother, one conversation where you don't have to explain yourself or prove anything. Most men never find that. Not because it doesn't exist, but because they stop looking. They convince themselves that solitude is safer, that emotional distance is control, that numbness is peace. But numbness is not peace. It's the absence of life. And the longer you stay there, the harder it becomes to remember who you were before the silence took over. This is why so many men fall into addiction, not because they're weak, but because they're alone. Porn, work, anger, endless distractions, all substitutes for connection, all attempts to quiet a hunger that discipline alone cannot feed. Discipline builds structure. Brotherhood gives meaning. You need both. A man without discipline becomes lost. A man without connection becomes hollow. Strength is not isolation. Strength is knowing when to carry the weight and when to let someone help you hold it. That doesn't make you less of a man. It makes you sustainable. Because no man was built to live as an island. Not biologically, not psychologically, not historically. Men survived through tribes, through brotherhood, through shared struggle and shared responsibility. The idea that a man must do everything alone is not ancient wisdom. It's a modern lie, and it's costing men their sanity, their purpose, their relationships, their lives. But here's something most men never admit. even to themselves. The silence doesn't just hurt, it changes you. It reshapes the way you see the world. It teaches you to expect nothing, to trust no one fully, to believe that if you fall, you'll fall alone. And over time, you stop reaching out, not because you're strong, but because you're tired of being disappointed, tired of explaining yourself, tired of being misunderstood, tired of feeling invisible even when surrounded by people. So you retreat inward, calling it focus, calling it discipline, calling it independence. But isolation always has a cost. The man who carries everything alone eventually becomes heavy himself, heavy with unspoken thoughts, heavy with pressure that never leaves, heavy with questions he never allows himself to ask out loud. And when a man gets heavy enough, something gives. Sometimes it's his patience. Sometimes it's his temper. Sometimes it's his motivation. Sometimes it's his will to keep going. That's why brotherhood is not optional. It's preventative. It doesn't exist only for moments of collapse. It exists to stop the collapse from happening in the first place. A brother sees the shift before you do. He hears it in your voice. He notices it in your absence. He knows when your silence means, "I'm fine," and when it means, "I'm not." And no, he won't always fix your problems. That's not his job. Sometimes all he does is remind you that you're still human, that you're still seen, that you don't have to carry the entire world in your chest alone. Men were never meant to suffer quietly for decades and call it honor. They were meant to struggle together and sharpen each other through truth. This is why brotherhood demands honesty, not performance, not posturing, not pretending to be unbreakable. Honesty, the kind that says, "I'm tired," the kind that admits, "I don't have all the answers," the kind that allows another man to say, "You don't have to." And when that bond exists, something shifts inside you. Your shoulders feel lighter. Your mind becomes clearer. Your battles feel winnable again. You stop seeing life as something you must survive alone, and start seeing it as something you can face with support. This doesn't make you dependent. It makes you resilient. Because resilience is not built by isolation. It's built by knowing you can fall and still get back up. If this video resonates with you, if you recognized yourself in this silence, understand this. You're not broken. You're not weak. You're not failing at masculinity. You're just carrying too much alone. Strength is not about how much you can endure in silence. It's about building a life where silence doesn't own you. And the first step is simple, though not easy. One real connection. One honest conversation. One place where you can exist without armor. That's not weakness. That's strength done right.